Hi, it's Six, Mr. A here again, and in maths today we are going to carry on our fraction work and following on from multiplying fractions by a whole number and multiplying proper fractions by proper fractions. Today we're going to look at dividing a proper fraction by a whole number. So let's have a look. So in this lesson we're looking to use multiplication facts to solve division problems and to make sure that we simplify our answers into their lowest form. And today's target will be I can divide proper fractions by whole numbers. Okay, you know I like you to get your brains into gear before we start our main part of the maths. So a little starter for you, just 4 questions. Everything on here we've done in the past. So pencil and paper at the ready. Pause the video and have a go at these, please. Alright, let's have a look at our answers then, see what you've got. First question then, how would we solve this problem? 8 squared plus 11 squared. Well, you'd be writing it if you rewrote it first of all. 8 squared, well 8 8s are 64 and 11 squared was 121. A lot of people forget that one. If you need to, guys, what's wrong with doing a little jotting? 121 plus 64 and then doing it at the side there. Okay, if not, I'd have taken the 121, I'd have added the 60 on to make it 181 and then added the 4 on to make 185. Either way, your answer is 185. Brilliant. Okay, next one, 1440 divided by 12. Well, straight away, because I know my times tables, did I mention it's a good thing to know your times tables? I might have mentioned it in the other videos and in the lessons year after year, lesson after lesson, day after day, because they're really important. Anyway, what we can do is we spot that 12 goes into 144. So I'm just going to lose the 0 for a minute. What's 144 divided by 12? Well, 12 12s are 144. What do we need to do now though? We divided by 10 to lose that 0. Now we need to bring that 0 back by multiplying by 10. So that's got to come back on. So 120 is our answer. 1440 divided by 12. And if we did the inverse to check, 12 multiplied by 120, we would have 1440. Right then, 0.036 multiplied by 1000. Well, that's important, the 3 zeros, because that's how far that decimal point is going to go to the right to make the number bigger because we're multiplying. Now really, the decimal point stays in the same place, but I haven't got the technology to go moving the numbers instead. So think about moving everything 3 decimal places, and that would be the new home of the decimal place. So in fact, our answer would be 36. All right, now let's have a look. Let's think about using a number line for this bottom one. What's the difference between -6 and 18? Well, here's our number line, a very dodgy one. Here's 0 in the middle, an even dodgier 0, and we've got 6 this side and 18 this side. So it would be 6 jumps this side and 18 jumps this side. So we just need to add those two numbers together. Yep, it would be a difference of 24 degrees centigrade. Try and remember to put your units of measure on there. If you got those right, well done, give yourself a pat on the back. So, on to dividing proper fractions by whole numbers. Let's take it a step at a time, nice and simple. First of all, what is a half divided by 2? So there's our half. Let's get my pen. There There we go, there's our half. And what if we divided it equally by 2? You might already have seen this before, going back a few years, but I wanted to wind it back just so that you understood visually what it looks like. So there's that half again. Alright, there's the half, and we've divided it equally by 2. What does this give us? Yeah, it gives us a quarter, well 2 quarters. So there, once we've divided by 2, there it is, it gives us our quarter. So if you think about what we've done, we've taken a half, we've divided it by 2, and that's given us a quarter. So that's how we write that calculation. Okay, so think about what we've just done with the halves divided by 2 into a quarter. I want you to have a think about what a third divided by 2 would be. Just pause the video for a second, just have a think about it. Okay, it's easy for us to see on a pie. If we'd have just divided that third with a line through the middle, it doesn't tell us actually how many pieces we would have altogether, okay, and new denominator. Because when we divide something, we end up with a new denominator, don't we? So let's have a look. If we did a whole pie, apple anybody, then the line would go straight through the middle of that third, and we have to divide the other ones equally. So what do we end up with? We end up with sixths, don't we? Yeah. So if we divide a third by 2, we end up with sixths, 2 sixths. So a third divided by 2 equals a sixth. That's how we'd write that calculation down. Okay, a little bit different this time. This question says, what is 1/2 divided by 6? But this time there's already more squares. So you've got to think about how many squares you have. So if you count your squares up, I want you to bear in mind that you have 12. So pause the video now and have a think about how you would solve this one. There we go. 1/2 divided by 6. Alright, so there we've got half of 12, haven't we? So you've got to bear in mind we had half of 12, and those are what the blue shaded ones are. Okay, and if we divide it by 6, we end up with one of those. So let's have a look. Half divided by 6 would be 1/12. Yeah, I think you're starting to get the hang of it now. Now it's starting to get a little bit more complicated. It says, what's 1/2 divided by 5? Pause the video and have a think about this. Okay, so let's go back to the pie. Pie. No, not now, Homer. Divide the half into 5 pieces. Now, it's starting to get a little bit more tricky to divide up greater amounts. So 1/2 divided by 5 is 1/10. But I know I'm not particularly good at freehand drawing dividing something into 10 equal parts. So hopefully now you're starting to see, when we write the calculation down, 1/2 divided by 5 is 1/10. You're starting to see a link. There's my pen, let's have a look. You're starting to see a link between the numbers that are being used. Yeah, I'm not going to say just yet, but are you starting to see the link there? Okay, one more visual example. What is 1/2 divided by 3? Think about the amount of, let's get my pen on, think about the amount of shapes you've got there. Alright, I want you to bear that in mind. Pause the video now and have a think about it. Okay, so quite easy to see, is it? 1/2, right, we've got 6, and 1/2 of them would be 3. And if we divided that by 3, we'd have 1/6. Okay, so let's look for some connections then. Does this work? Is there any connections there? I can't see anything, can you? Maybe subtraction, but 1 take away 2, well, that would throw it into negative. So we don't see a connection there. So let's get rid of that. So at the moment, we're just concentrating on the bottom. Think about what the connection is between there and there, the connection there and there, and there and there. What are we doing? Because we can't go drawing pictures every single time. It's okay for some more basic proper fractions, but as they get more complicated, we can't keep drawing pictures. Okay, it seems that we can turn each one into a multiplication. Yeah, so 2 times 2 is 4, and then if you remember, that was 1/2 divided by 2 equals 1/4. So you can see what we've done here. We've done the 2 multiplied by the 2 to give us 4. Yeah? Hopefully you can see the connection between all of those. So we see that multiplication and division are very closely connected, but isn't that true when we do whole numbers anyway, multiplying and dividing? Yeah, we need to know our multiplication facts to be able to divide, don't we? Right, let's try a few more then. What's 1/3 divided by 3? Have a think about that one now. Okay, so if we've got 1/3 divided by 3, and we use that method of multiplying, right, we'd have 3 multiplied by 3 instead, wouldn't we? So what would we have? That's right, we'd have a 9th. 3 3s are 9. Okay then, so what would be 1/3 divided by 4? See if you can work it out using the number method rather than having to draw pictures. We will use the pictures to show you the answer, but I want you to try and do it without having to draw a picture and divide it all. Let's use the number method. Pause the video then. Okay, right, so 1/3, where's my pen gone? 1/3 divided by 4. 1/3 divided by 4. And what did we say we were going to do to be able to write it? We said 1/3 multiplied by 1/4. So what would we have? 3 4s? See how quick and easy that was? Let's see if we're right though first. And there we go. It was 1/12. So we must have used the correct calculation. Multiplying the denominators. Okay, now so far all we've done is look at single numerators, like 1. We're going to add some new numerators in now. So this time we've got 2/3 divided by 4. So what do you think that might be? How do you think we're going to use that method to solve that problem? Pause the video now and have a think. Okay, let's have a look, see what method you've used. Hopefully it's the one we're looking at. So we were on 2/3 and we divided by 4, didn't we? So I would rewrite that now as a multiplication. So we had 2/3 and we were going to multiply it. We have to turn that 4 into a quarter. Okay, so now we do 2 times 1 is 2, and then 3 4s are 12. All right, so 2/12. If you counted all those up in that diagram, we'd have 12 squares, wouldn't we? and we've got 2 of them shaded, so we've got 2 12ths. But of course, remember our success criteria at the beginning of the lesson. We need to simplify. What's the common factor between 2 and 12? Well, that would be 2, wouldn't it? So what goes in, how many times does 2 go into 2? Once. How many times does 2 go into 12? 6 times. So it'd be 1/6. So we would write that as, there you go, just get rid of that. We would write that as 2 1/3 divided by 4 equals 2 12ths, which is the same as 1/6. So can you see how we would write it out? As long as you remember that when you turn that whole number into a fraction, a proper fraction, you do it as 1 part, 1/4, 1/5, 1/7, 1/227th. Whatever it is, you need to put the 1 in the numerator's position to be able to multiply it. And don't forget to simplify afterwards. Alright, should we practice a couple? Tell you what, we'll do one more with the diagram before we practice a couple without any diagram. So here we've got 3/4 divided by 5. So there are 4 sections, right, and we've got 3 of them shaded, but we want to divide that by 5. So if we showed it all divided up into 5 equal parts, how many rectangles would we have? We'd have 20, wouldn't we? Alright, so we know that there's going to be 20ths in our answer part of it. So pause the video now, have a think about how you might solve this one. So let's turn 3/4 divided by 5 into a multiplication. So it was 3/4 divided by 5. So we do the 3/4 and then turn it into a multiplication. Remember the 5 goes on the bottom now, and we turn that 5 into a proper fraction by putting 1 as the numerator. Now we multiply across. 3 1s are 3 and 4 5s are 20. Are we going to simplify that at all? No, because there's no common factor between 3 and 20. Alright, so 3/20ths would be our answer. And let's see how that would be presented. Click the right button. Yay, there we go. I must have got it right. Okay, you've got the method now. I think you know how to do it. So let's have a go at these 3 questions without any diagrams to help us. Pause the video now and just have a go at these 3. Okay, let's have a look, see what your answers are, see how you've done. So, where are we at? Let's get the right pen. Let's get a red this time. So put our answers in. And we're going to first of all rewrite this as a multiplication, aren't we? So we're going to take the 2 whole ones and turn it into a fraction. Then we multiply across to the top, don't we? 2 1s are 2 and 9 2s are 18. We can simplify that, kids. All right, if you've got 2 18ths, great, fantastic. And don't forget to simplify. So give yourself a tick if you've got 2 18ths, but let's just simplify it and see what our final answer is, because that was one of our success criteria, wasn't it, to simplify. What's the common factor between 2 and 18? 2. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. Can't simplify any further than that. So your answer is 1/9. Moving on to question 2. So we rewrite it as a multiplication. Now our 6 whole ones goes on the bottom and the 1 goes above, as we've discussed. So our new fraction would be 3 1s are 3 and 5 6s are, that's right, 30. Can we simplify it? I think we can, because 3 and 30, common factor of 3. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 30 10 times. And then our third question, 5/7 divided by 3, rewrite it as a multiplication. Let's turn that 3 into a fraction. 1 5 is 5, 3 7s are, what are they? Good, 21. And can we simplify that? No, there's no common factor between 5 and 21. See how easy those are? Once you've got that method, It's so much easier than using diagrams, especially if you're as bad at drawing as I am. Okay, my friends, I've just had to squeeze my tiniest pause button in that top right hand corner. These are for you guys to have a go at. Okay, I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine because you know how to do the method now. We don't need the diagrams. And pause the video now, have a go, and we'll have a look at the answers in a short while. Good luck. Well, kids, we've got to this slide for the answers, and you'll be pleased to know that Mr. A has just done this slide completely, and he got to number 11 and pressed the wrong button and wiped everything out, so I've got to start again. That's what you call having a bad day. Let's go again. Right, so we're going to turn it into a multiplication. So we've got 2/4 and we're going to multiply it by 1/3 because that's what we do with the 3, we turn it into a proper fraction. So 2 1s are 2, 4 3s are 12. We can simplify that. What goes into 2 and into 12? 2 is a common factor of both. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 12 6 times. Question 2, write it as a multiplication. 1 1 is 1, 5 8s are 40. Can we simplify that? We can't. I've got to be careful because if I rush too much, the pen gets laggy and drops behind. Right, 1 6 multiplied by 1 6. 1 1 is 1, 6 6s are 36. Don't need to simplify that one. 5 8s multiplied by 1 6. 1 5 is 5, 8 6s are 48. Now because I know multiples of 5 ending a 5 or a 0, there's not going to be a factor that is common between 5 and 48, so that stays as it is. 1/3 multiplied by, well, we turn that 5 into into a proper fraction. So 1 1 is 1, 3 5 is 15. Don't need to simplify it. Question 6, 2/10 multiplied by 1/9. 1 2 is 2, 10 9s are 90. 90 is an even number, so 2 can be a factor of it. 2 goes into 2 once. How many 2's go into 90? We don't need to work them all out because if we're looking for 2's, we just halve it. Half of 90 is 45. Then question 7, we've got 1/2 divided by 7, so we turn that into a multiplication. The 7 becomes a proper fraction. 1 1 is 1, 2 7s are 14. Question 8, 1/4 divided by 2, turn it into a multiplication. So it becomes 1/4 times by 1/2. 1 1 is 1, 4 2s are 8. Job done. Question 9, 7/12 multiplied by 1/8. 1 7 is 7 and 12 8s are 96. I hope you remembered that. Will there be a common factor between 7 and 96? I'm not sure. Should we come back to that one in a minute? Hopefully you've worked out that there is no common factor between 7 and 96. Moving on to question 10. 1/5 multiplied by 1/7. Dodgy looking multiplication there. 1 1 is 1, 5 7s are 35. Can't simplify that any further because it's one part. 1/2 multiplied by 1/4. We've actually already done this one, it's just presented in a completely different way. 1 1 is 1, 2 4s are 8. And question 12, I've finally got there for the second time. Please, Mr. A, don't press any buttons wrong. 9/10 multiplied by what becomes 1/3. 9 1s are 9 and 10 3s are 30. Is there a common factor between 9 and 30? There is not. Okay, who said not? Are we listening? Concentrate. I know it's the last question, but I think there is a common factor. Nobody? Come on. What about 3? 3 goes into 9 how many times? 3. And 3 goes into 30 how many times? 10. So you end up with 3/10. Okay. If you got all those and remembered to simplify them, really well done. Big pat on the back. Okay. Make sure you've marked them. And if you're working from home, make sure your name's on your work. Well guys, I've enjoyed doing those. I do enjoy fractions. I do also have to admit I find it quite confusing when you've got one method for addition and subtraction, another method for multiplying, and then another method for division. It's really, unless you practice them, it's really hard to remember. But you've used your multiplication facts to solve division problems today. You've simplified your answer into their lowest form, and I definitely think that you can now divide proper fractions by whole numbers. Well done. And remember, if you've done some fantastic work, you're really proud of yourself, and you want to show me how you've picked this up, take a photo, WhatsApp it in, make sure you put your name on, or you can email it to the Year 6 at Wren's Nest email address. Don't put it to my personal one, please. Or make sure your name is on, make sure your presentation's totally spot on, and pop it into the letterbox just inside the school gate, so we'll have it looked at for you. Okay, well done everybody, and I'll see you in our next lesson.